At first, no one paid attention to the moment that it didn't look important. It didn't look planned. Jungkook casually stepped forward, holding something small in his hand. There was no announcement, no dramatic pause, no hint that this would turn into anything memorable. Taehyung reacted the same way he always did, smiling, laughing softly, making the moment feel light and ordinary. Army watching assumed it was just another friendly exchange, another passing interaction that would be forgotten within seconds, but sometimes, the most powerful moments don't announce themselves. As Taehyung looked down at the gift, his smile lingered, just a little too long. There was a brief pause, so subtle that most people almost missed it. His fingers tightened slightly, and his eyes didn't move away. It was as if the noise around him slowly faded, leaving him alone with the meaning hidden in that small object. This wasn't about what the gift was. It was about what it represented: shared memory. A private reminder. A moment that only two people truly understood. Jungkook didn't explain himself. He didn't laugh it off or try to make it bigger than it was. He simply stood there, watching Taehyung carefully, not with curiosity but with understanding. The kind that comes from knowing exactly how someone thinks, how they feel, and how deeply they carry things inside. This wasn't a gift meant for the audience. It was meant for Taehyung. And that made all the difference. Slowly, Taehyung's expression changed, the playful smile disappeared. His breathing became uneven, and before he could turn away, his eyes filled with tears. The room grew quiet. There was no music, no laughter, no commentary. Just a raw moment unfolding in real time. Taehyung tried to blink it away, tried to regain control, but the emotion had already reached the surface. This wasn't something he could hide. That was when Army realized something was different. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't exaggerated for the camera. This was genuine. Fans began replaying the moment, analyzing every detail. The way Taehyung held the gift, the way Jungkook stayed close without touching him, the unspoken comfort in his presence. What seemed small from the outside suddenly felt incredibly heavy. Some memories don't need words. They live in glances. In silence. In objects that carry more weight than they appear to. Whatever Jungkook gave Taehyung wasn't just something from the present, it was tied to the past they shared and the journey they survived together. And Taehyung felt all of it at once. Taehyung wiped his eyes, forcing a smile for the sake of the moment. But the emotion remained, lingering beneath the surface. Jungkook stayed quiet. No jokes, no distractions, just presence. Sometimes, that's the loudest form of care. Long after the clip ended, Army couldn't stop talking about it. Because it wasn't dramatic in a loud way. It was dramatic in a human way. A reminder that behind the stage lights and performances are real people, carrying real emotions, and real bonds that don't need to be explained. In the end, this moment proved one thing: what looks like nothing to the world can mean everything to the heart. And that's why Taehyung cried. Not because of the gift itself, but because of the meaning behind it. Even after the cameras moved on, the moment refused to disappear. Clips began circulating. Screenshots froze Taehyung's expression at the exact second his eyes changed. Fans replayed it over and over, trying to understand what had triggered such a strong reaction. Because this wasn't the kind of emotion you could fake. It lingered. It stayed. And the more Army watched, the clearer it became. This was something deeply personal. Army noticed everything. The way Taehyung didn't immediately look up. The way his hands hesitated before holding the gift properly. The way Jungkook subtly adjusted his position, standing just close enough. Not too much, not too little. These weren't random movements. They were instinctive. The kind that only comes from knowing someone for years. On stage, idols perform emotions all the time. But this moment was different. There was no build-up, no signal. Taehyung didn't cry because he wanted to. He cried because his heart reacted before his mind could stop it. And Jungkook's calm response proved one thing: he wasn't surprised. Almost as if he knew. This might happen. People forget how long their journey has been. Years of pressure. Years of expectations. Years of standing together when everything felt overwhelming. That small gift carried all of that history inside it. Every late night, every quiet promise, every moment they chose to keep going. No wonder it broke through Taehyung's defenses. What stood out the most wasn't what Jungkook did. It was what he didn't do. He didn't rush, he didn't interrupt, he didn't try to steal the moment, he simply stayed. Sometimes, comfort doesn't need words or gestures. Sometimes just being there is enough. And Taehyung felt that. This moment hit differently because it was relatable. Everyone has experienced a time when something small suddenly unlocked emotions they didn't know they were holding in. A reminder. A memory. A person who understands without asking. That's why Army didn't just watch this moment, they felt it. Some bonds don't need labels, they don't need explanations. They exist in silence, in timing, in understanding that doesn't require proof. This moment wasn't meant to convince anyone of anything. It simply existed, honest and unfiltered. And that honesty is what made it unforgettable. For a split second, the polished world of idols cracked open. And behind it, Army saw something rare. A genuine, emotional response that wasn't meant for an audience but happened in front of one. That's why this moment keeps resurfacing, that's why it refuses to fade. Fans will always speculate, they will analyze meanings and create theories. But maybe this moment doesn't need to be explained. Maybe it's enough to know that it was real, that it mattered, that it came from a place of sincerity. No confession was made, no story was told. Yet everything was understood, and sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that are never spoken out loud. Long after trends fade and clips stop circulating, this moment will remain. Because it wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was human. Army thought it was nothing, but it became one of the most unforgettable moments of all. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Different angles, different edits, different captions, but the same reaction. No matter how many times people watched it, the emotion stayed the same. Taehyung's expression, the pause, the tears that came without warning. This wasn't the kind of moment that disappeared after one scroll. It demanded attention. It didn't matter where fans were from. Different languages, different cultures, different time zones. The reaction was universal. Comments flooded in, not loud, not chaotic, but emotional. Many said the same thing. I didn't expect to feel this. Others admitted they replayed the clip late at night, trying to understand why it hit so hard. Because it felt personal. What stood out the most wasn't the crying itself. It was what happened around it. No one rushed to fill the silence. No jokes, no distractions. That silence made the moment heavier and more honest. It allowed the emotion to exist without interruption. Fans noticed something else too. Jungkook never looked confused, never looked startled, never tried to change the mood that he watched. Taehyung with calm eyes, as if he already understood what the gift would unlock. Almost as if he had prepared himself for this reaction. That quiet awareness spoke volumes. Some moments aren't created to be shared, they happen naturally, and sometimes the camera just happens to be there. This felt like one of those moments. A private emotion that accidentally became public. And that's why it felt so raw. Fans have seen emotional moments before. But this one didn't feel performative. It didn't feel exaggerated. It didn't feel rehearsed. It felt like something that slipped through. Something real that wasn't meant to be analyzed, yet couldn't be ignored.